Here is every way that Justin Baldoni is refuting Blake Lively's claims in his new lawsuit. All, of course, related to the It Ends With Us movie. He is, of course, suing the New York Times, and he said, "Oh, you think you have receipts? I have the full transactions." Again, as a reminder, because I worked in PR for a decade, it's important to me that you get both sides of a story and more than just the headline. First, we see a conversation where Justin expresses concern that people are going to think they and he are trying to take Blake down, but Melissa says they're doing this to themselves. Justin, we're obviously not planting these stories, and then publicist says people are reacting to Blake's own interviews. Then they showcase a positive article for Blake and say, great, would love to see one for Justin. Then they showcase this portion of a conversation from Blake's claims. That article about Blake, wow, you outdid yourself. That's why you hired me. They say what's missing is right above this, talking about the article, saying it's unfair because it's also not me, but it looks like me. Then they share conversation about how the organic promotion from Blake was inappropriate and internally discuss how they had nothing to do with it. They explain that the fallout was a result of tone-deaf messaging and self-promotion. Justin then shares a Perez Hilton video and says, this wasn't us, right? Melissa says, absolutely not. We would never. Blake's done this to herself. Melissa shares another article and tells Justin, again, this wasn't us, but you just keep promoting the movie. And there are several messages like, people are going to think this was us, but it's just the media running with the story. And just for reference, in PR, I would constantly do this. Share press with a client and say, I can't take credit for this, but you need to be aware it exists. TMZ then to Melissa says, hey, we know this Blake-Justin feud isn't a thing. They just had creative differences. Then Melissa's like, do you have a source? Blake's people think it's us and it's not. TMZ says, yeah, it's a producer. They get a text from a reporter saying, hey, there's 3 HR complaints, a Justin intervention. What say you? Justin's team says, no, there's only a complaint from a guy who didn't get cast in a role. There was no intervention. Blake and Ryan had Justin and team over so Blake could talk about what was upsetting her. It wasn't the whole crew versus Justin. If you recall, Blake took issue with Justin coming in while she was breastfeeding. He said, actually, please look at this invitation. Blake said there was no intimacy coordinator. Justin shares the messages at least offering to make the introduction. They allege that Blake began a hostile takeover of the film, even showing how they tried to see Blake's cut and were denied. There are several internal conversations around Blake's demands to edit the movie, and eventually the team just relents and is like, let her have her way. As for the premiere separation, Justin said Blake asked him not to attend. This one I find particularly interesting because he specifically says, I want to make sure we aren't using any bots. It looks fishy. They confirm for him, absolutely not. Again, this is not about guilt. It's about the NYT being held liable. What do you think?